In the heart of global finance, a name is spoken in hushed tones. It is a name that commands more wealth than most nations. That name is BlackRock. It is an asset manager, the largest in the world. But calling it just an asset manager is like calling the internet just a series of tubes. It is a vast oversimplification of a complex and powerful entity. BlackRock oversees an astonishing sum of money, a figure that hovers around $10 trillion. This is not just a number. It represents the pensions of teachers, the savings of families, and the sovereign wealth of entire countries. The true source of its power remains surprisingly hidden from public view. The secret lies in a system, a vast, intricate, and almost omniscient technological platform known by a single, almost mythical name: Aladdin. The name itself, an acronym for Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network, barely hints at its capabilities. So, what exactly is Aladdin? At its core, it is a risk management platform. Think of it as the ultimate financial dashboard, a single unified system that connects thousands of investment professionals to the same data, the same risk models, and the same analytical tools. It was born out of a need for better risk assessment in the late 1980s, long before big data became a household term. It was designed to look at a portfolio not as a collection of individual assets, but as a holistic entity, analyzing how millions of variables from interest rate fluctuations to geopolitical events could impact its value. The system operates on an epic scale. Aladdin monitors approximately 30,000 investment portfolios simultaneously. It tracks millions of securities and derivatives every single day. Its sophisticated models run countless simulations, stress-testing portfolios against a vast array of potential future scenarios. What if inflation spikes unexpectedly? What if a major supply chain is disrupted by a natural disaster? What if a specific political election has a surprising outcome? Aladdin runs the numbers, calculating potential impacts down to the smallest fraction of a percentage point. But here is where the story gets even more interesting. Aladdin is not just for BlackRock. The company licenses this powerful technology to hundreds of other financial institutions, including direct competitors like Vanguard and State Street, as well as major insurers and pension funds. This is a brilliant business model, turning a proprietary advantage into a massive revenue stream. However, it also means that a significant portion of the global financial industry is using the same underlying system to assess risk. This creates a potential for groupthink, where a flaw or a blind spot in Aladdin's models could lead to a systemic, herd-like behavior across the market, with consequences we are only beginning to contemplate. BlackRock's influence is not a theoretical concept. It is a measurable reality, quantified in trillions of dollars and spread across every corner of the globe. The company's revenue streams paint a clear picture of a financial empire on which the sun never sets. For the last fiscal year, BlackRock's total revenue was a closely watched figure. A significant portion, as expected, came from the Americas. The United States, its home turf, remains its largest market, generating billions in fees from its vast network of institutional and retail clients. These are not just Wall Street titans. They are the 401k plans of millions of American workers, all entrusting their futures to BlackRock's stewardship. Across the Atlantic, its presence is just as formidable. Europe is a critical pillar of BlackRock's global strategy. The firm has become a key advisor to governments on the continent, consulted on everything from banking stress tests to strategies for managing national debt, further cementing its role as an indispensable financial partner. And then there is the Asia-Pacific region, the engine of global growth. BlackRock has aggressively expanded its footprint here, particularly in markets like Japan, Australia, and increasingly China. The revenues from Asia, while historically smaller than those from the United States and Europe, are growing at a rapid pace. The line between BlackRock's financial power and political influence is becoming increasingly blurred. This is not a matter of speculation. It is a documented phenomenon often described as Washington's revolving door. A steady stream of high-ranking government officials has moved into senior roles at BlackRock, and conversely, BlackRock executives have been appointed to powerful positions in government. Consider the evidence. Numerous former central bankers, finance ministers, and senior political aides from multiple administrations have found lucrative and influential positions at BlackRock after leaving public office. Brian Deese, who was BlackRock's global head of sustainable investing, was appointed by the Biden administration to be the director of the National Economic Council. This is a clear, tangible example of the pipeline that runs directly from BlackRock's executive suites to the West Wing of the White House. The influence is not just about personnel, it is also about being the go-to expert in times of crisis. During the 2008 financial meltdown, the US government turned to BlackRock to help manage the toxic assets of failed institutions like Bear Stearns and AIG. More recently, during the economic turmoil of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Federal Reserve again hired BlackRock to manage its massive bond-buying programs. When the government needs a steady hand with deep market expertise, it repeatedly calls on BlackRock. When any entity accumulates as much wealth and influence as BlackRock, it inevitably becomes a magnet for suspicion and conspiracy theories. The firm's quiet, pervasive power makes it a perfect villain in narratives about a hidden global cabal controlling the world from the shadows. These theories often paint BlackRock, along with its rival Vanguard, as the secret owners of everything, puppeteers pulling the strings of corporations and governments alike. Let's start with a common conspiracy, that BlackRock and Vanguard secretly own all major corporations. The fact is that these firms are the two largest asset managers in the world. They manage funds like ETFs and mutual funds on behalf of millions of investors. So, while they are often the largest shareholders in companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, they do not own these shares in the traditional sense. They are custodians, voting those shares on behalf of their clients. Another prevalent theory centers on the idea that BlackRock engineers economic crises. While it is true that BlackRock, like any major investor, benefits from buying low and selling high, there is no credible evidence to support the claim that it deliberately orchestrates systemic collapses. The reality is that a global economic crisis is profoundly damaging to BlackRock's own business model. However, this does not mean there are no legitimate concerns. The fact is that BlackRock's immense size gives it enormous voting power in the boardrooms of nearly every major public company. Larry Fink's annual letter to CEOs has become a major event, capable of shifting corporate policy on issues like climate change and diversity. This is a real and documented form of influence. The concern is not that BlackRock is part of a secret conspiracy, but that its concentrated power, exercised in the open, could homogenize corporate behavior and push a specific agenda without a direct democratic mandate. So what is the final verdict on BlackRock? Is it a shadowy cabal orchestrating global events, or simply a highly successful business playing by the rules? The truth, as it so often does, lies somewhere in the complex space between these two extremes. BlackRock is not a comic book villain with a secret lair, but its concentration of financial power is unprecedented in modern history. The firm's true influence comes not from secret conspiracies, but from its sheer, undeniable scale. The legitimate concerns about BlackRock are rooted in this concentration. First, there is the systemic risk posed by the widespread adoption of its Aladdin platform. When a significant portion of the world's financial managers are using the same risk analysis software, it creates the potential for correlated behavior and intellectual monoculture, where a single flaw could have cascading effects across the entire system. Second, there is the issue of its revolving door with government, which creates undeniable conflicts of interest and gives the firm an unparalleled voice in shaping the financial regulations by which it and its clients must abide. The power it wields through shareholder voting is perhaps the most visible and debated aspect of its influence. When Larry Fink signals a shift in focus, as he did with ESG investing, entire industries listen. This gives a private, unelected entity the power to set social and environmental policy for the corporate world, a role traditionally reserved for democratic governments. While many may agree with the firm's stated goals on sustainability, the underlying question remains, should a single asset manager have this much power to shape society? This is the core of the debate, moving beyond sensationalism to the fundamental questions of corporate power in the 21st century. As we move forward, the world will be watching BlackRock more closely than ever. The scrutiny is not born of paranoia, but of a rational understanding of what happens when so much economic power is vested in a single entity. The real story of BlackRock is not about secret plots, but about the profound and challenging questions it forces us to confront regarding transparency, accountability, and the very nature of power in our globalized economy. Its influence is real, it is growing, and understanding its scope and its limits is essential for anyone who wants to comprehend the forces shaping our world today and tomorrow. This is all for this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on the global shifts in technology and power, make sure you subscribe to GeoPoli-Tech, where we unveils the truth.